So I think we begin with the beginning. This is the interview with Benjamin Aranda and Chris Lasch. And I wanted to ask you about the beginning, about how it all started. What was your epiphany? How did you come into architecture?
Like the very beginning, how we decided to be architects?
How we started our practice, or how we decided to become architects?
Maybe both.
Well, before we started our practice, I guess my initial inspiration was my grandmother was an architect. In fact, she was the only one in her graduating class in 1942 because everybody else had been drafted. She never practiced, but we would play together, and I think she probably implanted it in my brain, when I was defenseless. So I'm going to blame her.
Well, we started the practice kind of inadvertently. We were interested in birds in New York and in pigeons. And we had graduated, and we just decided to start this practice filming things in the city. And actually, the very beginning was Chris had a van coming out of college, and we thought we could outfit this van with all sorts of new technology that was coming out at the time, that we could practice on the go, and we could travel the country and meet people and kind of learn about cities and do things. And we applied for grants to kick off this practice, and we never got any.
But I was curious to know more about that because Ralph Erskine, the Team 10 member and very senior architect, he was almost 100 when I interviewed him. He had this idea that he wanted to have his architecture practice on the move, so he would go on the Swedish archipelago and would put his whole stuff on a boat. So I was very fascinated by your idea of the office on the move and the van. And was that an advanced idea? Did you elaborate on it? And
yeah, we thought at the time that the best way of practicing was not to be still in any way, and that there were these ideas about the city and about technology that were really talking about things being in a kind of dynamic. And we thought that maybe the best way to understand that dynamic of crowds, traffic, of telecommunications, and the things that are sort of changing the way we live, that the best way to understand that dynamic was to be inside of it and to be kind of in a traffic jam, or to be moving through a city, or to be meeting people and all that kind of stuff.
These technologies were introducing new ways of seeing the city. You could kind of you can see stuff in motion, and you can do it all kind of unwired, or at least that was the kind of promise back then. And but it still was kind of important that you also be moving. So it's not like you're sitting at a computer terminal, but that we would outfit our own little kind of satellite. So we would create a piece of technology. Yeah. That we would travel the country and kind of sense the world around us with these kind of enhanced, technologically enhanced senses. Yeah. It hasn't panned out yet. We haven't done that project yet. But I think in a funny way, it led directly to the Pigeon project, which was a kind of low-flying Earth-sensing satellite, a kind of stripped-down version. And instead of us on the move, we enlisted a number of agents.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just to describe that just briefly, Newton said that a satellite is anything projected across the Earth horizontally. So hypothetically, you could throw a rock and define it as a satellite, although we understand satellites today as something that brings information back to the Earth. So we thought, well, we could, by that definition, we could build our own satellite. I mean, we kind of wanted to be the practice to be a satellite in a way. So we decided to build our own practice with the tools that we had, and we made these small cameras, and we became friends with some pigeon keepers in Brooklyn, and we attached cameras onto these birds and sent them out over the city and saw what they saw. and brought the information back to us to see what we would learn.
So that was like a mapping situation. You made a map.
It's like a map that would kind of find the cracks in existing maps. Like traditional Earth sensing technology is it's all about rectifying the information to the grid, to latitude and longitude. Whereas the pigeons operate according to a totally different set of rules that we kind of barely understand and couldn't control, and we were kind of interested in that, in being like off the grid in a way.